So let's continue with building our major surfaces, and the next thing I want to do is this wall guy. We'll disable this test renderer, and let's create that surface. We'll create a new material. Once again, I will rename it wall, and I will use a texture here also, and let me load it up here. You have to understand, for realistic renders, the textures are the key. Texture, and to get a really nice detail, this displacement guy is the answer. So textures, real textures, preferably high resolution, and displacements are the way to go for a maximum realism quality. Nothing beats that. So let's get back to business. I will load an image here. I really downloaded all those images from the web. There are zillion textures available on the net, okay? And these are all free. So load that wall up, and let's apply it to see what it will actually look like in the scene. So let's apply that wall, and I'll increase this editor preview size just to get a better idea without rendering. You can see the result. Yeah, I'll probably switch the projection. So let me find that guy with this. Let's try cubic. Cubic or flat really works most often times, and I have to scale down that wall texture. So the only way to scale down is to tile it down. So we'll have to use these tiles in both directions. So we'll scale it downwards equally. So let's try something like free and free tiles. It's much better. Maybe even more detail. Let's try 5 with 5. Yeah, this could work. I think this is really nice, and it will come out really nice. I also want to add a small amount of reflection on that wall. So let's do just that, and really small, something like maybe 20%. That is often enough. And I will use a slight colorization for this color, just to match this wall color. So let me do just that. And you see I will have some sort of a yellowish reflections. And once we apply the GI, it will bleed some of this color into this scene to make it a little bit more warm. I also want to change the sampling type. And here is probably a good demonstration of why to change those sampling types. And you can think of this MIP and this SAT. The way to blur the texture as it goes further away. For example, in the real world, if you look here, you will really see all those crevices and little bumps and stuff on this wall. But if you look further away, it will be somewhat blurred. You won't be able to see every detail. Okay? And that is why you don't want to set this sampling to none. Then you will be able to see every little detail also here. And this will tell your eye and eventually your brain there is something wrong with this image, and you don't want that. So let's use this SAT, and if you're using sampling type here in your color channel where the main feature of your material is, use that SAT in every other channel. And just to add up to this texture, I don't have to use displacement to get these really nice bumps and stuff, because these are really small differences in elevation, and I can go with bump, okay? just to simulate that and to really get really fast render times. And I will copy this guy. I can simply drag it and drop it here, and I will use a really small amount. Let's say something like 10%, maybe even more. Let me try 5%. Let me see what do I get. I will just drag this preview here just to be able to see. Yeah, this could work really nice. And remember, this scene is calibrated. So what I put in here, what color values I put in here, I will be getting the proper results here. They can be darkened or brightened, but they will be correct. So if you input a completely red, you will get a completely red color here. And that is important. That is why I prefer to do my materials in neutral environment. That's it for the wall. Let's now build something else. I'll disable this preview once again, and I could probably build, let's build these sinks. I really want them to be from some also stone material, and we will fake that stone material. So let's do just it. I will create a new material, and I will rename it sink. If this is not called sink, please let me know what it's called like. And what I will do, I will just simply load a color here. So let me load it, and this color is what I had in mind. Let me just apply it. I will find those guys in the hierarchy, scroll to them, and since this will be a procedural shader, I don't have to worry about projections. I can apply that material on the parent, which is this null, and it will do the rest. Let's do just that. And now if I do a test render, you will see it really looks dull and non-interesting, and it doesn't seem to be a stone material. A nice way to fake that is actually to create a blur code. So let's do just that. I will disable this, and I can copy this clear code, rename it. So we'll call it blur code, so BC. And the only difference I will do, I will just add a small amount of blurriness here. Let's try 10% and see what we get. This is too much. Let's try with 5. Something like this. And this could work. And under reflection, I want to change just a tiny thing. I don't want 100% reflection. I want something like 95. This could work. So it's not completely reflective. So I will close it. And again, we have to copy those guys, those two. Just to show you the workflow, so I will select them. I will control drag them. And now I can apply that blur code material to them. So let's do just that. And I will copy this exactly the same tag here. Let's do a test render. And yes, this could work. And I will show you with the shadows on that it will work. Let me just enable them. You can really drag them here and enable show always, so I can play with it and put it to area value. And you can already see it really mimics that stone material. And once we increase the samples from our shadows, it will look even better. So let's disable that shadow just to cut down on the render time, and maybe we should build this metal material for these pipes right now. So let's do just that. Let's call it a metal. Metal materials are quite simple. So we don't have color, we have reflection. And I want to control that reflection with the Fresnel. So let's just to get a little bit more detail in it, and have to invert it. So I get that nice transition from front to the way back, and I will cut this mix strength to something like 50%, just to get some of that Fresnel and some of this standard reflection. Let me see that. That is okay. And let's apply it and see it in action. I will select this first pipe, find it in the hierarchy, and you see I can apply that material to all these guys with applying them on their parents. So let's try just that. And this is what we have. And let's try a test render just to see where we are at. Yeah, this could come along nicely. And one problem with metal materials is quality of reflections inside them is controlled with this threshold guy. So we will have to lower that a bit just to get enough information so it appears much more realistic. You can of course always experiment with materials. You don't have to set them up the way I did. For example, you could maybe even want inverted Fresnel and get somewhat different results. Okay? So let's keep it this way. Let's do something that is not by the book. Maybe this will be more appealing to you. I think those metals will be quite sufficient, and let's do another shader before I do a small pause. Let's do something really simple. For example, this mirrors guy. Let me just select one, and I have a whole group here. And I have an instance of that mirror just to cut down the geometry count. So think of an instance as a low demanding copy of the original object that will really mirror all data that is applied to it. So if I, for example, add a mirror shader, which is in fact just a surface, let me rename it to mirror, which is completely reflective surface. So nothing fancy, 100% reflection. And let's apply it to this mirror. Here, this is the glass part. I actually want to create another material for this outer part, and you will see it applied that to the instance. Instances are really useful when you have a bunch of objects in your scene. It requires really a fraction of memory that is needed for the real objects, so you can actually have quite a few in your scenes. So let's render that just to make sure it does everything what we want. And in fact, it does. And you can see now our anti-aliasing is low quality. So we have jagged edges and problems. We will have to increase that. Let me now do a small pause and I'll be back and we will continue with material building.